All right, five, four, three, two, one, and we're good. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. Name still subject to change. We are on episode 7 now, and I was giggling during the countdown because right before I started it, we had a little bit of a consensus that moist is a disgusting sounding word. So that's how we're opening today up.
Starting nice and moist.
Oh yeah. Oh, God damn it.
You brought it up.
I did. I brought it up in the intro, in
Put
fact.
it down. Okay.
Anyway,
Yes.
so opening up with topics. But before we get into that, did you have something to say? It sounded
No.
It sounded like you were about to.
No, I was reaching for my alcohol, actually.
Oh, well, there you go. Again, starting as we mean to go on. So I actually had a bit of a meta topic to start things off. For the first topic, I wanted to talk about this podcast.
Right.
And specifically some ideas that we had kind of batted around the third segment. One that we've been talking about recently, and I figured, well, why not just talk about it on here, was the potential of using the third segment as a way to bring on a guest, a third party, have another voice besides our two dulcet tones.
Yeah, I'm curious which segment people prefer the most.
Well,
Presently.
yeah, the first, second, or third. Personally, I've the positive feedback I've gotten has mostly been around our second segment, where we kind of just dig into movies and games free form.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I think we discussed this last time, or maybe it was after. We're not actually going too far into games.
That's
Mildly impressive for us.
yeah, I know. We apparently have a surprising repertoire of movie knowledge and book knowledge, even. I mean,
Yeah.
barring last week's discussion on spirituality and the Jersey Shore douchebag.
Oh yes. Well, yeah. I mean, that's life skills right there.
Yeah. So this first topic is basically just acting as a sneak preview for people listening. That may be in the future. The third segment is an experimental landscape, a place to try and experience new things. And the sound of me pouring tea definitely just went through the mic.
I mean, did you have to pause while you did it?
No, but I did, and so that is now on the recording.
So sorry, the topic itself being the podcast.
Yeah, I just
What specifically did we want to?
well that was it. I had a couple just thoughts around it.
Okay.
Like around what we have and haven't talked about. And that was essentially. I know we've had some discussions around things we could do, things we could change, things we could experiment with on
Yeah.
the podcast, and I thought, why not talk about that right at the beginning? Because most
So
of the
that potential banjo playing segment we were going to put in.
I would
really
have to.
like that idea.
I'd have to learn how to play the banjo. We could do one where we do an entire segment
Same.
in Limerick.
Oh my god, we could have like an ongoing series where we learn the banjo. It'll be like our tough strife moments, and it'll be like an anime coming back, being incredible at the banjo.
We need a
No.
montage.
Yeah, with Banjo Kazooie playing in the background.
Oh my god. I'd have to buy Banjo-Kazooie.
This is how easy it is to make a podcast, folks.
Yeah. just make a few puns and keep going. Can you imagine? I imagine there's somebody out there that does that, though. Somebody who made a podcast about making a podcast. Like,
There's a YouTuber I've been watching recently who does like mock pitch meetings for how they think movies started.
I
I don't know if you've seen them. They're very
I haven't, no, but I can only imagine. The concept alone is making me laugh.
And they got to episode 100 and they were like, we'll do a pitch meeting of us doing pitch meetings, like of our video series. It was very meta.
Oh my god.
There's some very funny ones I would recommend. It's called the person who does it is called Screen Rant.
Oh, I know Screen Rant.
Mm.
I don't follow them particularly, but every now and again some of their videos like pop up in my feed,
Yeah.
and I'll watch them.
Hmm. Was it? So what were the some of the suggestions for the podcast? Because I forget them on a daily basis.
I mean, some of the things that we've heard about. So the first one, they're having a guest segment. That would be something interesting. One of them was the one
more recent ones.
one of the ones was the one I told you just before we started, was the idea of enhancing our audio capabilities, having different audio streams so that they can hear you in pure, clean HD like they hear me.
Pure, clean English.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yep.
You would call it HD.
What?
Don't you guys pronounce the H?
Yeah, we say HD. As opposed to what?
Well, so no, you, God damn it, no. I'm saying like when you say the letter, like you're talking about the letter H, right?
Yeah.
You don't you
H.
say like H, or like you actually?
Oh, you're saying the difference between H and H?
Yeah, exactly. It's a subtle difference, but I think it.
I'd say HD.
Okay.
But if you're being proper, air quote marks, if you're doing like a spelling bee, you'd probably say H.
I don't think I've ever heard somebody outside the UK say H. Even saying it like I have to force myself to do it. Actually, along that same line,
H is just a lazier way of saying it, really.
Along that same line, say both.
Both.
Okay. So that's another one. People, this is the sort of like intense, hard-hitting topics you can expect here. But people say both two ways. They either say both or they say both. Like some people add like an L noise. Yeah, exactly. Both or both. I now I'm thinking about it, so I'm not sure exactly how I say it, but I remember hearing this debate before. Actually, no, I know exactly where I heard this debate before. It was it was on an episode, one of the original episodes of Red versus Blue.
Right.
Do
they have England in the Halo universe?
I mean, yes.
Okay.
So the Halo lore is just, it's our universe, but in the year 2550.
2550. Not too far away.
Yeah, about 500 years.
Yeah.
And so the idea is
years.
that it's far enough out. They've invented faster than light travel. Humanity's done a bunch of colonies. They're on the brink of civil war, and then the aliens show up, and it sort of unites humanity against them. And the aliens wipe out a bunch of human colonies.
Nah. In reality, the humans would just still keep killing each other.
They actually do that in the series too.
I don't know. If I was putting on a posh accent, like both, then
yeah,
I
but
don't know. But if I'm being lazy, then yeah, both.
But that's the other thing. Like both, if you put it there isn't an L in the word. So
Yeah.
wouldn't the correct way to say it should be both?
Bear in mind, we get people in my own city who say the name of the city differently to me. Like Alicia says Bath,
Mm.
and I'll say Bath, which is quite a big difference considering.
Well, yeah, she's saying it with an American accent, honestly.
Well, no, she's saying with a Bristol accent. Fuck Bristol.
Well, apparently the Bristol accent's pretty close to ours.
I'm so getting in trouble for this, by the way. Every time we release a new one, before she listens to it, she's like, "So, do you have anything you want to apologize for now before I listen to it?"
Yep.
Dear.
But I mean, that's, yeah.
It's
But
Alpha forgotten this by the time she asks.
Yeah, so you'll say, no, there's nothing wrong. And then in the first,
Yeah.
10 minutes of the podcast, you're already making fun of her accent.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. But That's. I mean, you get that around here too, though. One thing that, so in my state, like we pronounce every town nothing like what it's spelled. Like the
right.
town I
Well,
went
you
to.
put like kind of a W in Boston, don't you?
It's here. People, Boston.
Boston.
Yeah, it's, we pronounce it Bawston, when
Yeah.
that is not how it's spelled. But I'm thinking of like the town I grew up around, and where I went to college was we say Worcester. It's spelled WOC.
CES.
Yeah. So it's I honestly forgot the R was even in it.
Yeah.
So like I'll have an uncle come out from the Midwest and he'll be like, "Oh, I'm staying around Worcester." I'm like,
Yeah, some people say Worcester. Like,
yeah,
w-
or
I
Worcester.
can't even.
People will say sometimes. There's not an H in
But
there, but
thanks to Worcester sauce, I've always pronounced it Worcester.
yeah, you
That's the only
say
reason I know about the place.
it's Worcester.
Yeah.
There's if there's one thing I can say about the accent in my state, it's that a lot of the time we just forget letters. We see a word
Do you
and we're
have
just like,
Worcester sauce over there?
we do. It's
But it's not your Worcester.
yeah. So and it's like Worcestershire sauce.
Yeah.
That's the way most people will call it in at least around where is Worcestershire sauce.
Shire. Who are? Your farmer is coming out.
Oh, it's the farming accent. I'm Farmer Bill.
Oh,
That's not even an
the
American
poor
farming
farmer now.
accent. That was like that's like a British farmer.
From Dorset.
Is that what that accent is from?
Well, there's quite a few different like farmer. Yeah.
I mean, since we're talking about language now. That's something that honestly is kind of fascinating to me. Is that with a population the size you guys have, and an island as small as you guys have an astonishing number of regional accents.
Because we're so old.
Well, yeah, but so you guys have like double the number of accents we have in the U.S. in like maybe 100th of the space. Like the entire
say so.
landmass of the British Isle could like fit into New York State with room to spare, and
I mean,
yet
how many states have you got?
50.
Okay. Yeah, I think. I mean, if each of those states is a different accent, you've probably got more accents than us.
It isn't though. Most of the Midwest shares a similar accent with slight variations. A good chunk of the South has similar accents. Most of the Northeast, where I am, like is very similar accents. Boston's got kind of its own unique thing, and so does New York City. But that's because they're big metropolitan areas.
Yeah, that must have been like really well planned to get exactly 50 states.
Part of me
No.
is kind of like that's something that has bugged me my entire life growing up because
Yeah.
and it's
There's
not
50
for
stars
any
on the flag,
it's not for
isn't there?
yeah, exactly it's not for any specific reason. It's just like from an OCD like mathematical kind of standpoint, it bugs me. I'm like, I want 51. Like I want it to be a weird number because it had to have been a weird number somewhere throughout the creation of the country. And honestly, it very easily could have been like 55 or more. The only reason states like California and Texas are as big as they are is because at the
8 other states.
no slavery.
Oh.
It's because
Oh, we got to that point already today.
what?
Oh my god.
Yeah, we're not that far in, but no, follow me on this.
Yeah.
Historically, before the Civil War, they couldn't. They didn't. Neither side was. Neither the free states in the North or the slave states in the South were able to reach a majority enough to ban or completely allow slavery. So the way that basically there was building tension. The way they maintained it was every time a free state was added, a slave state was added. Texas was added to the Union when it left Mexico and then it wanted to join the U.S. And when it joined the U.S., it was going to be a slave state. So what they did was they split my state in half. Maine was created because Massachusetts, my state used to be huge, but they cut it in half to make an extra free state so Texas could join.
Okay.
But Texas was so big that it should have been made up into 5 states, but that would have been 5 slave states that were added. So they kept it as one big state. That's the reason Texas is as huge as it is. A little bit of history there.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
So you wanted like a prime number or something?
Yeah, I was like, yeah, come on. I don't know. It's just I thought it would be cool, and maybe I only think it would be cool because I grew up with there being 50. But before Hawaii was in, there was 49. There was Alaska. It was 48. Like, come on, give me some kind of a cool number like that. Even back in the 60s. No, not the 60s. It was the 20s and the 30s. There were states that were still territories.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought
I don't know why, but
it
I'm
would be
thinking
cool.
about the Hunger Games.
Yes, I live in. I live in District 13, the blown up one.
Oh, really? Of the blown up one.
Yeah, the one that they don't. Spoiler alert for those books, if no one's read them. But there's a rumored District 13. I barely remember those. I only read the first one, and I read the
District 8.
What?
Was Katniss District 8?
I thought it was District 11.
It's been a very long time since I've seen the movies.
I watched the first movie, and with the books, I read the first 2, and the third one I got bored halfway through and never finished it. But the lore was pretty interesting. There was one state. There was one district that got nuked, and it was the East Coast, like literally where I live.
They knew too much.
Well, what happened was apparently Colorado, which is District 1 or the capital, they were like, we're going to take over the country, and Boston was probably like, fuck off. And so they nuked them. Which, I think is perfectly in line with the attitude most people in my state have.
Yeah. I mean, in the English view of America is that almost all of America has that kind of ideology. If someone tells you no, you tell them to fuck off.
To an extent, it depends on where you're going. Like the Midwest, where a good chunk of my family lives on my mom's side, they're extremely polite. Like there are certain issues that if you kind of cross them, they'll be like, all right, fuck off. But for the most part, they're extremely kind, extremely polite, very easygoing.
Until you do them wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It's just kind of like, but even then, most of the time they'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Most of the people, at least that I know out there, are like that. That's my own anecdote. But in general, every time I've been to the Midwest, it seems to be very, very chill and kind and easygoing people.
Yeah.
But the
very
same
different to over here.
And then you go over to I've only been to California once, and I was in San Diego. And I was right on the coast, so it may have just been because of that. But everyone I talked to there was also very... It must be the weather. It was very chill, very easygoing. Like, growing up in a colder climate on the East Coast, it's a very different attitude to the West Coast. I remember I went over there. I was on business. I got finished, done with work. Went down from my hotel room to a bar that was connected to the hotel, and it had this big open air thing. It was looking over the ocean. It was decorated like, surfer paraphernalia all over the place. I go to the bartender and I ask the guy, like, he comes over and generic like surfer bro. I can hear that cork through the mic, by the way.
Sorry.
No, it's funny because I'm telling the story. I'm telling a story about a
story because you went to a bar. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It suits it. Anyway, so I go over and talk to the guy, and he generic surfer bro is how this guy sounded.
Yeah.
And like he comes over, he's like, "What's up, man?" And he's like, what can I get you? And my coworker was already there, and she already had a beer, and so I was like, what's good at the bar? Like, what's good for I think I was like, I asked him for an IPA, like a beer. And I was like, what you got for a good IPA? And he's like, it's all good, man.
Oh, God.
And me being from the Boston area, that pissed me off. I was like, just answer the fucking question.
I just assume they're high and then just kind of like.
But I don't think the guy was high. I think that was just his whole vibe.
Well, no one's that like chill.
Oh no. I think he was an exception. No one else I met there was that chill, but he epitomized the whole attitude for me. He was the stereotype of everyone else I met during that trip.
He wasn't like wearing a lilo. Was it lilo? The flower.
A lei.
Something.
They're called leis. No, he was wearing a tank top and cargo shorts.
Okay, that's just as bad. Was he wearing sandals?
I don't know. I didn't look over the bar to check.
That's so bro. That's so bro.
He was. When I say just picture a generic surfer bro, yeah.
You wouldn't be allowed in a bar if you walked in wearing that stuff over here.
Okay, well, but again, this was California in like a beach town in Southern California. Yeah. I was maybe 40 minutes away at most from the Mexican border.
But Kaiser, everywhere's a beach town.
Well, yeah,
we have quite a few though.
Hey, that is not true. I've been to Oxfordshire. That place was a field town, not a beach town.
Yes, but I don't know. But every time someone mentions Oxfordshire, I just think about the swans. It's the one place in England where you're allowed to beat swan.
Wait. Beat swans?
Eat.
Oh, eat.
What? Why would you beat a swan?
I don't know, so you could tenderize it, so you can eat it, I guess.
Well, yeah, I guess I could. Yeah, no, I think you can eat swan there anyway. I know the Queen owns all the swans in England, apart from... Listen. Apart from in Oxford. So, I think... Yeah.
I'd love to know what kind of fucking contrived political situation led to that.
Well, it's probably like some baron or duke in Oxford that did some good shit, and so she was like,
I grant you the swans.
Yo, bro, you can like totally have my swans. Sorry. That's how the Queen sounds. I can't help it.
The Queen's from California, apparently. Oh my god.
Gnarly.
This topic is just us laughing at this point.
This is because of Bill and Ted's Adventure. You know about Bill and Ted, right?
I know of it. I don't think. Oh no! I haven't seen that in forever.
Right, it's so old, but they're releasing a new one.
Why?
With fucking John Wick was one of them.
Keanu Reeves.
He's going to be.
I thought he was in the original, wasn't he?
He is in the original. He's like super, super young in the original though, so no one really recognized him. I didn't until this latest film came out, and I was like, oh my god, John Wick, the guy that murdered the entire Russian cartel because they damaged his dog. Damaged? They killed his dog.
Damaged his dog.
Sorry.
Did the Queen own that dog?
Is now like going back to playing.
Yeah.
Yo, bro, that ain't cool.
So it's funny. You can tell like what era somebody grew up in by what they think Keanu Reeves is. For me, he's always Neo.
Yeah.
Because that was what like that was the first movie that I really remember seeing him in. Was the first Matrix film.
I've seen all the Matrix films several times. It's very, very rare for me to learn an actor's name, and John Wick in particular blew me away. So that's why I remember his name from that. And I was like, oh shit, yeah.
Believe me, I'm the exact same way. There's only like a handful of actors that I actually know the names of and can actually know them by name. Like so, Nicolas Cage, good and bad reasons.
Well, everyone knows that.
Samuel Jackson.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
The thing is, I never watched any of his movies. I never was into Terminator.
Wasn't he the governor of California?
Yeah, he was. He was the governor.
Brought it round.
He was the governor. We're back in California now.
Oh shit. Well,
He
this
literally
segment's just California now.
he literally won that election by one of his things. He's like, my opponent is a girly man. And like that was how he won the election. He just went up there. He's like, I am the governor. My opponent, he doesn't have the qualifications. He's a girly man. I haven't busted out the Schwarzenegger accent in a while.
Yeah, but no, I agree. There are definitely some actors that are just
that you just know.
Everybody knows.
Yeah,
they hit the big time.
Yeah, they just like people know them by name. So, I think the first actor like that for me was Samuel L. Jackson, and the reason for that was fucking Snakes on a Plane.
I've never seen it.
Oh my god, that movie became so Nicolas Cage for almost the exact same reason. There was a budget theater near my hometown that had they did like a $2 ticket night on Tuesdays because that was their weakest night. So they just $2 go in there, watch a movie.
Yeah.
Snakes on a Plane, crappy action movie starring Samuel L. Jackson that became famous for the phrase, "Get these motherfucking snakes off this motherfucking plane."
Yeah, of course.
And it fucking cheesy action movie, but it was so good, and he made that movie. One of my friends went to see it on opening night. They did a midnight release where people were like, when he came on the screen, people were clapping and stuff like that. I didn't go to that. We watched it the next day. He literally saw it at the midnight release and then came out with us the next day to go see it in the theater.
Yeah.
And he fell asleep in the movie the second time.
Oh wow, that's less.
But the thing is, the next day when we went, there was only 5, maybe 10 people in the whole theater, including us.
Really?
And there was one guy behind us, who was, I guess he was, I don't know, I don't even know how to describe this guy to you, but he was like a generic Bostonian. And I
haven't really gone to Boston.
I know, and that's why it's not going to mean anything to you. But
yeah.
Anyway, so he's sitting in the back of the theater, and the first time Sam Jackson comes on screen, my friend stands up and just shouts, "Yeah, Sam Jackson, let's kill some motherfucking snakes!" And from that point on, that guy was pissed.
Oh,
and
really?
He was staring daggers at us. But he didn't see which one of us said that.
Bostonians the best rapport, do you?
We're a very cynical, sarcastic, angry people.
Kind of people. Yeah.
It's just who we are. Anyway, so my friend falls asleep, and then that guy actually God, he thought it was my other friend that shouted that. So near the end of the movie, he comes down and he grabs on the seat behind him and leans over my friend's face and threatens him.
Damn.
And I think this guy just had a chip on his shoulder in general. I don't know, maybe his wife was banging the mailman or something like that, but he wasn't happy. And
this feels like segment 3.
where normally we degrade into just telling stories.
Into these kinds, yeah.
I'm kind of getting off in the weeds. Anyway, he threatened the wrong friend because my friend that actually shouted fell asleep in the seat next to my other friend, and so he's just threatening one of my random friends. He was just he didn't know what the fuck to do. What the fuck is this guy doing? Anyway, doesn't matter. But that was the movie that got us that made me Sam Jackson a legend in my mind, was Snakes on a Plane. Nicolas Cage, it was a movie called Next, where Nicolas Cage could see 2 seconds into his own future and just use that power to drink martinis and hit on women. It was so fucking stupid. We saw that movie literally 8 times. Because it was on the $2 movie night, we'd just go in there and see it, and then leave, and go see the next showing, and then go back in there and see it again. And we saw that movie so many times, and there was never anyone in the theater. It was always empty. I think the most company we had was this elderly couple who was there seeing the movie, and they were in like the back row, and it was just us in front.
Yeah.
The most fun was when it was just us in the theater, because we could do whatever the fuck we wanted. And just, talk at the movie and like make fun of it openly, because most of the time we're courteous. It was the Sam Jackson thing that just
Yeah, I feel like on these days they're a lot more sharp on people messing around in the let's say theater. Is that the right word? Cinema.
Yeah,
That's the word.
theaters. Well, we call them theaters. Cinema, I guess, is one of those subtle
Wait,
differences.
no, because theater is.
Yeah, I know. It's the difference between trousers and pants. Because like over here,
No.
I know. I'm saying, we don't call them cinemas here. We call them theaters.
Yeah, but over here, theater. If you say you're going to the theater, it's like you're going to see a pantomime.
Yeah, exactly. And we use both words here.
Okay.
Like theater can mean both, but most of the time when people say theaters over here, they're talking about a movie theater.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose. I mean, yeah.
Like, and I know, because if I was telling,
what I was gonna say now.
sorry, I jumped in on the whole language difference again.
That's all right.
But that's. I mean, we could go on about maybe we'll save that for the third segment, the language differences. But the difference between pants and fanny between the different cultures, because those
Pants
mean
and fanny. No, that's not right.
no. I'm saying those words, pants.
Oh, right. Okay.
Pants mean two very different things between the U.S. and the U.K., and so does fanny.
Yeah, but everyone in England knows that people in America say it differently. I don't think many people in America know that we say it differently in England.
That's true, and I think it comes down to a population size. Like the U.S. is basically self-contained. Like we've got 50 states, and they're all so different. We've got 300 million people, and most people in the U.S., for better or for worse, don't really think about the outside world. Except in like an abstract way. At least that's been my experience,
Yeah.
There's a few people, like coastal cities are different because they have such a stronger interaction with the wider world. But the vast majority of the
definitely
U.S.
found over the years that I've been talking to you guys and the rest of everyone else in the hive, I've definitely become a lot more Americanized, because I remember the first sign was that I was starting to say trash. You don't say trash over here. It is an Americanization of rubbish. You'd say trash can, we'd say a rubbish bin.
Yeah.
And I got told off. Well, not told off. Some asshole in my old workplace was like, "Excuse me, that's not proper English. You shouldn't say that." And so, I every week after that, I just came back and I was like, "Yeah, I was out at the mall with my friends,
trying to find a new trash can for my apartment, not my flat, my apartment."
Yeah, not the shopping center, the mall. And yeah, like even the basic stuff, like you don't have crisps over there, you have chips.
Yeah, and your chips
like,
we call like fries.
Yes. Well, no.
Okay. So
yes.
the things that you refer to as chips, like the real ones, like the thick cut ones, we call those steak fries.
Well, we have 3 words. So the steak ones that you just said, those are chips, or oven chips. Then there's fries, which are the long, skinny ones. Or they're also called French fries.
Well, okay, so that is wait, you actually use the word French fries over there?
Yeah.
Did not know this. All right. We could literally keep talking about this for hours, but we're at 34 minutes, so I think we can wrap up the first segment. It's funny. Right. I'm going to read you what I had written down for topics. Written down for topics. 1, this podcast. Topic 2, and I wrote this one. I wrote this one when I may have had a couple drinks because my handwriting's a little sloppy. California needs more Boston.
Right. I mean, we can go into that in the next one, I feel like.
Those are the two things I had written down, and the funny thing is, I didn't actually even lead us into that California topic. I didn't even look at the notes after we moved on from the podcast. We just started talking about that. So clearly it's just something I have on my mind. Anyway, I'm gonna roll us out of this one. This is the end of segment 1 topics, even though the topics were a little bit incoherent this week, but we stayed to a couple very, very centralized points. Differences between the UK and the US, regional differences, this podcast in general, and a lot of complaining about California. End of segment 1. If you're listening during the week, this is the end of the segment, but if you're listening to the full podcast, then you will hear us in just a few seconds. We'll talk to you again soon.